or also a barrier. Then the next point could be kind of between these two, is about transparency, traceability, about how the service can evolve over time to be sure that you can really explain that. And then also to take how this transparency in the methods, it's compatible with the development of a business. So how far you can make your business safe at the same time that it's transparent on what are you doing in your climate service. And then we go more on citizens, on the world. You know, in order to be valuable, it has to be easy to understand. It has to be taken into account the needs of the actual users. And then it's related to a global and more general understanding of climate services and popularizing the concept. So it's everyone is understand that any decision based on climate adaptation needs information. And this has to be on people's mind, everyone, not just academia, not just practitioners. That's it.
Thank you so much. Right, so facilitators, if we can spend 1-2 minutes on each of the reports back so that we don't sort of eat too much into the coffee break. Andreas?
Yeah, I'm trying to be brief. This is about the quality group. And we try to group the results a little bit along for sub-headlines, the decision-making context, where we had a number of votes on the accuracy, availability, targeted information for of climate services for users. The user perspective also reflected in the part of knowledge systems and information and processes, where we had votes for tailored data for users, also pointing towards standardization that would be helpful also for providers, but as well, of course, for users. Traceability of data sources, the importance of scientific credibility of the information that is used was mentioned a couple of times. If we go to the ecosystem of actors and co-production processes, there was also mentioned that all the representatives should be involved in the processes. We should deliver something. We go to the delivery mode here that is, of course, user-friendly, and it was mentioned a couple of times, the open access or easy access to the products, and also were easy to find. So it was mentioned that sometimes you don't find your climate service that you need because it's not known and it's not easy to find, as one also a quality aspect for climate services. So we will have to reshuffle this a little bit and prioritize a little more for what our participants have delivered here. And I would like to thank you all who have contributed to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. I'll move over to Jorge.
Thank you. We group our concepts on 4 topics. Okay, the goal of this corner was to define what are the topics that are important for collecting user-driven knowledge and creating co-designed climate services, and we group our ideas in 4 main topics. Maybe the first one are the external and context drivers, and in this way we have been talking about how important are the resources that you have for your services, the resources that you will have for running your services, how to identify the users, to pre-design phase, etc. Then we have been talking about key principles that we can apply in the co-design process, principles like a new mindset, flexibility, humility, driven by the user scientists, by the user, not by the scientists, trust, transparency, etc. Then we have grouped some of the ideas about how we co-design the services in a group called creating a shared knowledge base. And here we have included the user narratives, the listening, the user awareness forums, working on the user needs, how important is the local information, the understanding, etc. Then we move to the outcomes. What are the outcomes? Because the outcomes at the end are very important for the co-design process. And we commented about the outcomes should be easy to use and to understand, how important it is to share the user knowledge, etc. And then we have been talking also about monitoring and evaluation activities, where there are concepts like verification, regularly engaging with the users, etc. So these are the main ideas that we have collected, I think. So thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. And finally, last but not least, Grit.
Yeah, so this was the discussion about equity on climate services, and by the way, also standards. We try to be also looking on this aspect, and probably not surprising for everybody, this is not a very easy task, because we're talking of diversity of backgrounds, cultural, social backgrounds, user groups, but I will say something about the word user later. And we're talking about a wide range of countries and sectoral levels and. So this is just very, very demanding to come up with solutions on such an inhomogeneous, but very, very important topic. So equity in climate services, we started questioning from the very beginning, and almost everybody for whom. So we were quite very well aware there are givers and so-called takers, but maybe not. Maybe they are just communities, and very, very suddenly we came up with words like user or citizens. They might be not the right ones anymore. We might be more aware of using appropriate language to not exclude someone in the usage, in the design, in the utilization, in the provision of information, which leads eventually to a service, to a standard. So we had in both groups quite a longer debate on how, what, and how to name this very, very difficult approach. So we came up with people to be right, you know, as inclusive and equitable as possible. Also, we very well aware that we come from the perspectives of so many communities. There were representatives on our table from the NGOs, the human science and social humanities, the private sector, the media, the communities itself, the municipalities, and they all had their single aspects on what is an equitable access and service. Very often it was said we need the empowerment, the capacity building to themselves being able to shape a service, to shape that what is needed. But profoundly, we always were very aware we have to include everybody, but also we have not to be naive. This was a very valuable comment. There are initiatives which also try to take advantage. We looked on, you know, just being careful in how you label, how you get and grant access, how you include. Just, I'm putting the word private sector in the room, not to offend someone, but we just were very much aware there are different dimensions of utilization and of making use of something and being equitable in this sense. We also were very aware that there has to be a minimum of for free. Free data was said very often. A minimum of free access with involving nothing, just being able to have the right to get access to this service or even that standard. And also there was very important discussion about check and balances, how we ensure that the access, the usage, the implementation, that it's all along the right way, that it's working. So kind of evaluation constantly on the way. But as I said, we grouped everything. Obviously, we have our dots. It's colorful, very colorful here. And we were very much aware that it's a very challenging debate, and we're just on the tip of an iceberg, even maybe. So thank you for patience and involvement.
Thank you, Grit. Some profound thinking going on in the last group, and also I think there's homework for the Climate Europe 2 project with all these results from the various groups. So this, regard this as a poll amongst peers, amongst users, and I think it's excellent input. So thank you very much. This will not go into the bin. We will take pictures of everything, and we will sort of use this as to inform the next steps in the project as well. So thank you very much. I think it's now time for coffee. Thank you.